We're going to use a new well to demonstrate how to create a daily drilling report. The well that I've selected is the Crosslake Demo 1-2. I'm going to go ahead and click on the project folder that I've already created. And when I do that, in the main workspace area, you'll see a table with all of the existing daily drilling reports. You can access any of these daily drilling reports by clicking on the link under the drilling date column. I'm going to create a new report, so I'm going to click on the green plus sign. And in the pop-up window, I'm going to fill in some of the details. The first one is a description of the operations that describe my daily activities, and the next is the daily remarks, and then I'm going to click Save. You'll notice that this has created a record of a daily drilling report for March the 15th. I'm going to access that report by clicking on the date, and now I see in the main workspace area a shell of my daily drilling report that I just need to fill in. Some information is pre-populated and carries over from prior drilling reports, and other information comes from the well information table and AFE module. My daily summary is pretty much complete, as well as my health and safety. If I wanted to add a new health and safety record, I would just click on the green plus sign. My rig information pretty much stays constant for my project. Once I identify my rig, this information. In the next section, called the daily drilling detail, this section consists of several subsections, starting with daily weather, and then daily hour, daily mud, and daily costs. I'm going to fill in each of these records one at a time, starting at the top. My daily record, I want to keep track of what was going on that day, because as you know, weather can impact your field operations. The next section is where I keep track of my crew's activities, and this is the daily hour section. So I'm going to create a record for this. I'm going to identify my drilling phase. In this case, I'm drilling my production hole today. My description goes in the description block, and then my bit run, you'll notice, is blank right now, and I'm going to show you why it's blank. We're going to come back and edit this and add our bit later. The start time, I'm going to start my workday consistently at 6 o'clock every day, and for every report, my reports begin at the same time. And then my end time is the ending time for this particular activity. Keep in mind that you have 24 hours to account for. And so in my drilling activity, I'm going to say that I'm drilling from 6 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock following morning. My start depth is going to be 3,200 feet, and my ending depth is 5,600 feet. And the operations that are going on at that point in time are drilling operations. This is important to make sure that you fill in this blank. That way you can go back and you can do analytics, so you can tell how many hours that you're spending for each one of these different activities when you're trying to optimize your drilling operations. I'm going to go ahead and click Insert. And now I've created my first record under my hourly report. I can create multiple records, of course, and so say my next activity is that I'm circulating. I'm going to log the amount of time that I spend doing that activity, put in any depths, in this case they don't change, and I'm going to say I'm conditioning mud and circulating, and then I'm clicking Insert. And since I don't have 24 hours accounted for yet, I'm going to add yet another record, and in this record, say we're down for rig repair. This takes me to 6 o'clock, which is my 24-hour period for this particular report, and then Insert. Now, I've completed my table, but you'll notice the bit run column is blank. And you're probably questioning, well, why is the bit run column blank if we're actually doing drilling? And it's because we didn't identify the bit that was going in the wellbore. And so I'm going to scroll down to the bit info record, and we're going to complete this section. Before we do that, we need to make sure that we add the current bit that we're running into the wellbore. So I'm going to go over to the right side and click on bit, and I'm going to click the plus sign, and I'm going to include a bit number 4. So we're going to have a new bit going into the wellbore. Once I complete this information, I'm going to click on Insert, and now you'll notice that my lookup table now has 4 bits to choose from. I'm going to just simply close my lookup table, and now I'm going to create a bit info record by clicking on this green plus sign. This is where I define my bit run for the day. In this case, my bit run is going to be bit run number 5. My date in is going to be today's date. I'm going to leave the date out empty because I'm not sure when we're going to actually be pulling this drill string, and I'm going to say I have 22 hours on this bit today. It goes in at 3,200 feet. I'm going to pull it at 5,600 feet, and I could fill in the rest of this, but for the sake of time, I'm going to leave the rest of these blank. I'm going to click Save in the bottom right-hand corner, and now I have my bit run record. Once this record is created, I can go back up and I can edit my daily hours section, and so I can click on this edit button. I can go into bit run, and now you'll notice that bit run number 5 is identified, so I can click on bit run number 5. So now I can identify not only the bit, but the assembly goes into the wellbore accompanying that bit. Okay, my daily hour report is now complete. My bit info table is now complete, but you notice that I don't have any record of my drill assembly. If I go to the previous bit run, you'll notice that my drilling assembly pre-populated, that they have input the record of all the components of that drill assembly, including mud motors, drill bits, and that kind of thing. Well, if this hasn't changed, what I can do is I can actually copy this from yesterday. And so what I want to do is I'm going to make use of this button on the far right side that says copy from previous bit run. And that allows me to go to the previous record, copy all of this data for the assembly into my current record, and then I can make edits and tweak it. So you begin by clicking on the current date's bit run. Then you go over and click on, under the assembly section, click on copy from previous bit run. And you notice now the highlighted bit run is bit run number 5, and now it's comprised of all of these components in the assembly section. As I said before, you can go in and you can click the pencil and you can edit any of the details that may have changed, and it just creates a more simple way of populating this data. You can also copy the very last record or the last row by clicking copy from previous assembly, and you notice this has duplicated the last row. And this is useful if you're drill pipe subs or something like that may have different lengths, and all the ODs, outer and inner dimensions are the same, but the lengths might be a little bit different, and so it gives you a quick way to update that. Now just remember, this is what we call a parent-child relationship, meaning that whenever you highlight this parent record in the bit info table, the child table for the assembly will change, provided that there's changes in it. Take, for example, the previous run. I can click on that previous run, and this assembly pertains only to bit run number 4. When I click on and highlight bit run number 5, this assembly only pertains to bit run number 5. Okay, let's go up and complete the daily cost section now. With the daily cost section, you will notice that we don't have any data yet. And you're probably questioning this, well, why do we have this white space area here? Aren't there supposed to be cost codes and cost groups here? And the answer to your question is yes. Well, we have created a project and we have linked it to an AFE already. So why doesn't this information appear? Total Asset Manager is waiting on you to select the method that you want to update your cost codes and input them into this section. And you have 3 different options. One is to create from your AFE, and when you click that, it's going to pull all the cost codes from your AFE by cost groups into this section. The other option is to copy from yesterday, and that's very useful if you have a lot of information that's recurring. And this actually copies not only the cost code with the AFE budget, but it also copies your estimated costs from yesterday. So if you have daily rig costs that never change, that would be a good option. And this third option you have is to add the cost code individually. And by clicking that, you can check the cost codes that you want to include and add them individually and maybe have a nice cleaner appearance here that's not as busy. But for today, we're going to click on Create from AFE and bring all of our cost codes from our AFE budget into our project for this particular daily drill and report. And you'll notice that your cost groups and cost codes have now appeared. You have intangibles and you have tangibles, and you can select between the two. You can enter your daily costs as the day goes on, including the drilling phase that you're in, including the vendor. And then when it's complete, you click Save. Okay, so once we complete the daily cost section, now we can go down and complete the rest of the report. And we're just going to kind of skim through the rest of these. We can add a mud motor if we would like by simply, first of all, clicking on the mud motor button on the far right side and adding that record to the lookup table. When you're complete, click Insert, and now we have that third mud motor to add or added to our mud motor lookup table. I'm going to close this out. And now if I want to create a new mud motor record, I can add the new one that I just created, put in the depths that you place them in and out of the, and click on Save. And you can see here that this record is now updated. The mud pump table works and the mud equipment work much the same way, as well as mud analysis. It's just important to remember to complete this information on a daily basis so your management and people reviewing this project can review these numbers each day. Now, there's also a section called Inventory. This is very useful. This is an inventory of all of the supplies that you have on location, and in particular, mainly for your mud. With this section, you can enter these items individually, but you want to make sure that you carry your inventory over from day to day. And so you have a button over here that says Copy from Yesterday. And when you click on that button, Copy for Yesterday, it goes and it makes, as it implies, a copy of yesterday's inventory and pastes it here in this section. Now, you probably want to go in and update some things because it also copies the amounts received and used. And so you can go in by clicking on the pencil button and edit these values and say we didn't use any today, so I'm just going to make that 0 and click Save. And you notice that that has zeroed that out and it automatically calculates a new ending inventory. So as this is carried forward from one day to the next, it takes the ending inventory from the previous day, adds in any receipts, subtracts any uses, losses, or transfers, and calculates a new ending inventory. It's a great feature. And then the final section is for your MUDlog. And again, this is another parent-child relationship between your MUDlog record and the MUDlog detail. And so you would create your MUDlog record first by clicking on the plus sign, filling in the details, and making sure that you highlight that particular record before you make any changes or updates to the MUDlog detail. At this point in time, we've pretty much finished our daily drilling report, and I realize that's a really quick overview of how it's done. But what I would like to do is show you the end result. And so I'm going to go into the reports folder and I'm going to scroll down to the daily drilling report and navigate to the well that we just worked on. Make sure that's the March the 15th. And I'm going to go over here and click on View Report. And this is going to give me my daily drilling report that we just created with all of the updated sections. Now this report can be exported as a PDF version. It can be exported as a Word document. We can create jobs to automatically have this report delivered to different management and departments. I'd like to thank you for your time, and we look forward to completing a daily completion report in the next section.